All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Smirking Gun Reviews, and yeah, it's a little dark in here for some damn reason. I think it's the friggin' backlight again, as usual, on my TV. And so this is, again, I am trying to be professional, and I'm stymied by my freaking technology, just like Black Mirror. So what we're doing now, since we just finished our best and worst of movies of 2018, we are now going to be tackling basically the final thing, which is the best and worst of television of 2018. And as soon as I can get my blacklight under control, we will get started. But I promise, I have things a little bit more well in hand than I did with the movies, being a little bit better prepared for this. But it is my first year doing this, and so I'm just giving myself a whole lot of leeway. All right, so one thing really quick is during my movie best of and worst of movies, I did forget to mention one movie that I really was kicking myself for. That is, I do consider to be one of the best movies of 2018, and that was Blindspotting. If you haven't seen Blindspotting, it's only an hour and a half long. It's really great. It's about two guys in Oakland, one who's coming off of parole and one who's always starting trouble. And it's how this guy that's trying to get off of parole sees a crime committed by a police officer, and just the few days leading up to that. And it's just a really well-written movie, really well acted. It is a movie that not a lot of people saw, but I do think that needs to be mentioned. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the best of TV and worst of TV of 2018. And we are in a golden age of television, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a whole lot of garbage. There is a lot of garbage out there. But this was much easier to do than movies, because I have time for television. And so best of and worst of for television is really less subjective than movies. And so we're going to get into this through, we're going to do best of and worst of by network, really, kind of like when we get to my best. But see, the worst ofs, I'm just not going to spend that much time on, except for maybe one or two. And so I am going to start with stuff that's on Hulu. Now, bear with me, because for some reason I'm having more technical difficulties. I'm on the ball, then the light goes up, and I'm now drenched in freaking light. I have no idea why. Oh, okay, because it's changing around. All right, so under my stuff. Okay, first off, worst ofs. Okay, Cloak and Dagger. I started reviewing this show when it first came out, and I liked the first episode, I liked the second episode, and like another show that we're going to talk about, it completely just falls apart for me, and I could not stand it. It turns into CW, Social Justice Warrior, just garbage. I didn't, and not as much Social Justice Warrior, but just the whole thing just fell apart. And look, it started out strong, like I said, and I could barely finish it. It's another origin story thing, and again, it's like people are supposed to tell me, you have to have more patience than that. You have to have more patience, and it's like, not really. No, you don't. Life's too short. And I'm not going to waste years anymore waiting for a TV show to, like you say in video games, get good. Marvel's Cloak and Dagger for me starts strong, ends terribly, and I don't need any more of it. Which brings me to another show on Hulu that, my goodness, I just can't do. And I reviewed a bunch of season one when I first started doing videos, and I did a complete rewatch and reviewed season one, and I did the first episode of season two. I reviewed that, and I tried watching season two of Marvel's Runaways, and I didn't want to review them. Every single one was bad. No matter what, it just kept getting worse and worse. I thought maybe they'd learned their lesson from season one, but they didn't. It is just awful. The writing is so freaking bad. Thanks, Belinda. I have a guy, I've talked about this if you've watched the reviews for Runaways that I've put up. There's a guy that I really respect named D out in California. He's got D's reviews. If you like Runaways, he does some great reviews for that show. And I highly suggest that if you do like that show to go check his videos out. But me, I just can't do it. I don't want to, I told everybody what needs to be said in the episode 1 of season 2 review, and I'm not going back. I'm not gonna waste my time reviewing a show that I can't stand. You know D too, huh? Okay, cool. That's awesome. So yeah, if it's just, this one is the social justice warrior dream come true. And I just can't do it. And if this is a sign of what's coming out on the Disney streaming service as far as their Marvel stuff, look, if this has an audience, it's not for me. The comic book, the original Brian K. Vaughan comic book, is excellent. This just takes the characters and the general premise of Runaways and does the CW treatment hard with it. Really, really hard. It is full of bad cliches, bad writing. It is soap opera, like drenched in just soap opera bullshit that I just can't recommend it. It is such a disappointment. I don't even want to, like people that want to, I haven't had anybody complain about how much they love this show. But if you do, more power to you, but I just can't. I just can't. And that's, kind of running the gamut of Marvel shows for me right now. Except for a couple. And so we're going to get to, let's keep hitting it, because the only reason I even have them on here is to talk about how bad they are. This one is the worst. The Gifted takes something that I love, which is the X-Men. I love the X-Men more than any other comic characters. They're not always my favorite book, but the X-Men are my favorite Marvel Universe series characters. And they take this thing on Fox and they just drench it in sappiness, in soap opera-ness. The characters are all, you take Polaris, who can be a good character, and you cast a terrible actress. You give us characters that nobody cares about. You give us characters that they just invent for the show, which is fine if they were good characters, but they're not good characters. You got Amy Acker, who I love. I can't stand her in this. You got Stephen Moyer from True Blood. Can't stand him in this. You got this guy who, the guy who plays the cop in this, or the agent. I hate everything about him. He is just your stereotypical, cliched, I hate muties guy, but I'm going to try to be complicated about it. But he's really not that complicated. He's stock. He is a stock villain. It's got a bad budget. It does not do good things most of the time with its CGI. I could talk forever about how much this show just offends me, as not like outraged, offensive. I just mean just as like, it offends me on my principles of like good television. And when I have had people complain about this show, or my thoughts, my opinions on The Gifted, I just have to let, you have to let them go. Let them say whatever they want. You like it, that's fine. It is, I can't wait for this show to get canceled when the Disney deal goes through. I cannot wait for this to just get thrown out into the trash. Because it's just, again, like I don't even want to talk about it. But it's just bad. Stay away from this show. Don't watch it. Don't let them continue making this garbage. D reviews this show too, and again, like I said, I respect his opinion. I'm glad that he likes these things. Somebody needs to, but I can't. I have to be honest to myself, and it's not just I just don't like it. I want to like this. But when your show is based on X-Men characters and you're not even allowed, you call it The Gifted. Okay, Gifted doesn't always mean good, and when you use that term, sometimes it means, I'm not dissing mentally challenged people, but sometimes when people say gifted, that's what it means. And that's what I feel about this show, is that this is just absolute, just why are they doing this? Why are they, like this is where I get almost too passionate about and get too close to the source material, where I just go, why are you doing this to these characters that I like? Like, one of your main characters is like, he died in the X-Men comic books on his first mission. It's like they don't even want to let them have top tier characters, because, I mean, why not? It can be any universe. It doesn't have to be in the universe that we know. You could have all the main X-Men characters in this if you wanted. But why? Why not? But no, we don't even do that. They don't even say names of people. They just kill us, say the X-Men put me in charge. But I've already talked way more about this than I want to. So let's go to another show that really, really disappointed me. And I hate it. I thought it started again with such potential, is Castle Rock. I've been looking forward to Castle Rock for, I think they announced it like a year before it came out. And I was like, yes, this sounds great. A show about the town of Castle Rock, taking some of Stephen King's lore and making it into a TV show. And it's J.J. Abrams, which I usually like. And then I saw the cast, and it was going to be Terry O'Quinn. And this gentleman, I can't remember his name, but I like him in a lot of stuff. He was in like Moonlight, and he was in Blind Spotting. And it has Sissy Spacek and Scott Glenn. And the chick from 2.5 Men that's actually way better than that show. What's her name? I can't remember. She's really good. She's been in a lot of cool stuff. And from episode where they showcase Sissy Spacek's problems, like what's going on with her. It was really good. And see, Belinda, you agree with me. Episode 7 was a really good episode. It was the best episode. And everything else was just so, I don't know what the hell they were trying to do. It wasn't scary. Oh yeah, Mr. Creepy McCreep-Eyes, the dude from It. What's his name? He's another one of the Skarsgård brothers that was in It, who his whole premise is to stand there and look creepy the whole time. And he was locked in a cage, and Terry O'Quinn kept him there. And that was another thing. Terry O'Quinn's in this, but he's dead. They kill off my favorite actor on the show in the first episode and only bring him back for flashbacks. And the show just, I know that this people also has some real staunch supporters of it. And that's great. We do need unique things, but we need them to be good. And I wanted to love this. And there were moments that I liked it. Moments. But for the most part, I think like maybe the first episode was all right. The 7th episode was a standout episode. If every episode had been like at least close to episode 7, this would have been one of my favorite shows of the year. I wanted this to be the best show of the year. It's like, I don't like complaining about these shows. Yeah, me too. Like, I was like, well, maybe it's a Stephen King thing. Maybe Terry's not dead. But no, Terry's dead. And using Shawshank, of course they were going to have me hooked with Shawshank, because that's like in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. But all they did was use it as a backdrop. And they used little subtle things like, multiverse, which would have been cool if they had done anything with it. But if this series goes on, right, it's gonna take place and do different storylines. Like the end of the first series, we got the girl that's supposed to be related to Jack Torrance from The Shining. But you did nothing with her. That character did nothing in this first season. And then at the end you go, she's Jack Torrance's daughter? Ooh, and she's gonna go out there? Like, what the hell? Just, again, and I don't mind hearing people try to defend this show. There's a show coming up that I'm going to talk about that people can kiss my grits on. But if you like this, like, fine. But now we're going to talk about a couple of the shows that I really do like that are on Hulu. One of them is this. I don't watch network television for the most part. I really don't. But like The Office and Parks and Rec, being especially Parks and Rec because of the ridiculousness of the town of Pawnee. Superstore is a show that I really can get behind because I've been in customer service for so long. I work in a grocery store. I'm a manager at a grocery store right now for the last few years. And so I get it, and it speaks to me. And it is ridiculous. It is all shenanigans. But I think that when I went with the kind of job that I have, I need a shenanigans show every once in a while. And Superstore is that for me. I love Mark McKinney from Kids in the Hall. He's one of my, I love that. I like the guy that's from Mad Men who plays Jonah in this. America Ferrera from Ugly Betty, I really like in this. I like everybody pretty much on this show. And it just hits me right where I need it. But it's only one of, like, I believe 2 network shows that I watch, like, religiously. I guess another one of the network shows that would have been, see, I don't count any of this stuff on Hulu, so never mind. But the other show that I do watch a lot, and is really, really, really good, is The Good Place. The Good Place is fantastic. It's partially created by Drew Goddard, who Cabin in the Woods, Bad Times at the El Royale. He's done stuff with The Office. He's done stuff with other shows, and it's just a fantastic story of the afterlife. Like, I don't know if I believe in anything, but I love their take on the afterlife in heaven and hell. Ted Danson, again, is a standout. He just kills it. I loved him on Cheers, and I can't believe, like, after all these years, that Ted Danson is still somebody that I really respect as a comedian. He's not like a stand-up guy. He's just got great comedic timing. Kristen Bell, who I can sometimes give her take, is fantastic in this. I love the guy who plays Chidi. Janet, the lady who plays Janet, is fantastic. And the other great thing about this is it teaches you things and you don't even know it. It's a very smart show. It takes, like, ridiculous hijinks, but actually teaches you some pretty intelligent things about the universe and life and philosophy and sociology and things that a lot of people will not take the time to learn or can't maybe wrap their heads around it. But this show does it in a way that doesn't really try to dumb it down too much for you, but it kind of teaches us how to be better people without being too preachy. And I just love that. I love that we can have a show that's ridiculous and still be smart at the same time. So I think that's pretty much it for, like, the Hulu stuff on here that I'm gonna put on. I do have a whole other thing set up on my thing, but now we're gonna go to Netflix. Okay, so Netflix, man, oh man, Netflix. Like I said, I do have a whole other thing, but I can't look up everything. So we're going to talk about some of the, right now, stuff that just didn't work and a couple of things that did work for me on Netflix. And first off, let's get to, screw it, we're looking them up. Okay, the first one that did not work for me. All right. Is Luke Cage season 2. I love Luke Cage, the character. He is a bad mofo in the comic books. And Mike Coulter, I think his name is, right? He's fantastic as the character of Luke Cage. And season 1 was all right until they killed the main villain and brought in I don't know what was going on then, but season 2 started and it just immediately, I was like, nope. And I tried and I was going to review them. And I was going to review them. Yeah, Luke Cage, meh. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just like, whatever. And the storyline just didn't speak to me at all. And that brings me to, like, there's nothing really to say about Luke Cage except it wasn't just canceled because people weren't into it. Okay, there's that whole other Disney deal thing. But the other show on that didn't work for me was Jessica Jones season 2. I really like Jessica Jones season 1. Jessica Jones season 1 is definitely one of the best Marvel seasons of any show out there. The complicated life of Jessica mixed with the Purple Man, played by the guy from Doctor Who, whose name I'm completely escaping me right now. That's gonna bug me. It was this very, very strong season. Very, very strong season. But when you get to season 2 and they make the villain her mother, okay, see, that was one of the problems with Luke Cage season 2 as well, was the relative thing, like bringing in the parents. And then the same thing happens in Jessica Jones season 2, where her mom is the bad guy. David Tennant, thank you. Jesus Christ, Rob. Yeah, David Tennant was the Purple Man in season 1. Thank you, Belinda. But Jessica Jones season 2 just felt like a major step backward. Trish, her friend Trish, what a stupid storyline did she have? And I love Carrie-Anne Moss. It's great to see her get major, like a major part in something. But they didn't get her anything good to do either. And now I don't know if we're getting Jessica Jones season 3. They haven't said it's canceled, so I'm assuming that it's coming out and it'll probably be its last season. Along with Punisher season 2, which doesn't come out till next month. So that'll probably be canceled too. But Jessica Jones season 2, I'm sorry, I watched the whole thing and I still didn't want to review it because I didn't feel like just spending 13 hours dissing a show that I wanted to like. But now we're going to get to one that, I can't believe that I did like this time around. And that's, here we go. Iron Fist season 1 was not good. What's that guy's name that did it? Buck something? It was awful. Except the character of Colleen Wing was really good in it. But it was just awful. Now, season 2 comes out, and like Luke Cage, it's been canceled too after season 2. But I have to admit that season 2 of Iron Fist was much better than season 1. On just about every level. And you can tell how much a difference a showrunner can make. It wasn't perfect. And Danny Rand, Finn Jones still has some work to do. But the positives in season 2 were way outweighed the negatives. The storyline between the brother and sister characters of Danny's friend, they downplayed their characters a lot more and at least gave the brothers something more to do. The villain in season 2 though is just another fucking pussy, who just pissed off that he didn't get the Iron Fist. But Colleen Wing and Misty Knight stole this season. And while it is not great television, it is miles above season 1. I'm glad that it's canceled. I hope that it gets reborn on Hulu for Heroes for Hire, and maybe they can, if they put Luke Cage and Iron Fist together, maybe they can do something different. Or maybe they can just say skip it and put Colleen and Misty in their own shows, the Sisters of the Dragon, or whatever they call that, Daughters of the Dragon, or something like that. But it is a little bit better, and I'm trying to stay a little bit more positive about that. But let's see, have I covered everything that's really disappointed me? No. Okay. And stuff that I just didn't like. And that means we're going to have to go to Amazon Prime to talk about that. And, oh man. So, here we go. So I did cover the first show that we're going to talk about. And that's, yeah, here we go. That's Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan I reviewed. It's a show. Look, I love John Krasinski. I said this on my movies thing about Quiet Place. I really do. And I love the dude who's his partner. And I can't remember his name right now that plays the younger version of the guy from the Jack Ryan series of movies. But it is just such a bland, just nothing show. There's a sex scene in here in this show that just does not fit any of the show. Like, it's just like, okay, we're on Amazon, we can do whatever we want, so let's show some tits for no reason. Let's have them have sex for no, and be graphic about it for no reason. Look, I think the girl in the show is beautiful, but it just didn't make sense. And here I am, I'm gonna act like the stereotype for a second of a male, a white male, and go, normally I wouldn't mind, seeing a beautiful naked woman on TV. But it just didn't work. It doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense for the story to do that gratuitously. It just doesn't follow. And the rest of the bland terrorist plot thing, even though they tried to do a couple of unique things with it, just went nowhere. And Jack is just he's not a very interesting character, except for maybe what he does in the first couple of episodes. And then it just, whatever. And it's so forgettable. And they are still selling the shit out of this show. And even though it's better than some things, it can't hold a candle to like the first few seasons of like Homeland, things like that, or even the first couple of seasons of 24. And those like 24 was, is a network show and doesn't get to be as completely edgy as an Amazon show. And Homeland, well, the first few seasons of Homeland are just freaking brilliant television. And they couldn't even match that in this. The source material to me of Jack Ryan has never been that great. The only good movie, really, in my opinion, was the very first one, and that was Hunt for Red October. The rest of them, even with Harrison Ford, are kind of dull. And the Ben Affleck one, really dull. And the one with Chris Pine, really, really dull. I mean, they keep trying with this Harrison Ford ones, aren't that great. So what was John Krasinski going to do with this? Not much. Hopefully he took the paycheck and that's how he paid for A Quiet Place. I don't know. But Jack Ryan, not good. Not good at all. And I don't recommend it. Now, before I get to the other one, I am going to go to, let's see, where are the channels here? Okay, HBO. We're going to talk about, let's just go to it. Sharp Objects. Again, a show that I started out really strong. Sharp Objects. Amy Adams is a really great actress. Patricia Clarkson's a really great actress. Henry Czerny, if they had given him something to do, is a pretty good actor. There's another guy in this, the one who plays the cop, the detective. He's good in this. The problem is the material. It just becomes this Southern melodrama about a mom and a daughter and their bad history. And it's supposed to, I know that they're trying to tell two different stories. It's from the lady who did Gone Girl. And Gone Girl was pretty good. But it was also directed by David Fincher. And David Fincher has only made really one bad movie, and that was Alien 3. And that really wasn't his fault. But this has a storyline about these murders going on in this town, and it becomes secondary to just this Tennessee Williams Southern melodrama bullcrap about this girl's past. And even though it is dark, and I appreciate some of that, the darkness in Amy Adams' character that kind of starts to come out a little bit and as a little bit at a time, that stuff was interesting. But it was everything else and it was slow moving and nothing happening. And then spoiler alert, okay? Spoilers up the wazoo, okay? When you find out like what the mystery is, it is such bullshit. And like the whole thing at the end with the mother poisoning, like no shit. If you couldn't figure that out, like the mother poisoning the daughters early on in their lives, and now she's doing it to the other one, and now the daughter that you're supposed to, I didn't like from the very beginning. She was a bitch, pardon my vernacular, but she was not a likable character. And then you find out that she's the one who killed the girls, it was the murderer, and they tell you that in the last couple of seconds, and then it just fades to black, and then they do this mid-credits scene where it shows her murdering her new friend And it shows really quickly that she killed the other girls with the help of the two friends from back and where they came from. And it just was just such a, I don't know, man. It's pretentious. It's one of those pretentious shows that's like, look what we did. And I feel like it's a show that for pretentious people that think they're pretentious but aren't really pretentious. And like, we're really cool for liking sharp objects. We're like it's some sort of special TV when it's really not. It's really not. And I bet you it's a hell of a book, but as a show, it started strong and fizzled and then gave us an ending that was just made the whole thing not worth it, in my opinion. Now, we're going to talk about a show that has brought me more contention than any show I have dealt with since I started my channel. And it's for a show that I did. Let's get to the originals. Prime Originals. Yeah, here we go. I did reviews for the first season and the second season of The Man in the High Castle. I love The Man in the High Castle, season 1. Watch those reviews. I loved Man in the High Castle, season 2. I made reviews for all of those. Loved it. First 2 seasons. And it was like other shows that I'm going to be talking about are filled with relentless human misery. It is a fascinating story based on a Philip K. Dick idea about what if the Nazis won. And the Japanese got the West Coast and the Nazis have the East Coast. And in the center is this neutral zone, kind of, this dead area. We're under the thumb of these two empires that don't like each other. And there's no hope. And all the Jews are still being hunted. Hitler's in power, he's an aging man. But there's these film strips getting passed around that show a different reality that we won the war. And they come from this guy called the Man in the High Castle, and all the bad guys want their hands on it. And this show is filled with really good performances from Rufus Sewell, and the guy who plays Tagomi. I don't remember anybody's names at this point, but there's Rufus Sewell's a standout. But Alexa Davalos, she's a great actress, and I was able to handle the human misery for 2 seasons because it's just really depressing watching the Nazis and the Japanese just completely stomp all over us. At the beginning of the show, we know we lost. And so we're already like, it feels terrible. But then over 2 seasons, it just never gets better. It never gets better. Never. Even when there's a moment where a building explodes in Doctor Who was the worst show of the year. You know what? I've tried to get into Doctor Who and I can't do it. I can't. I don't know why. I have tried, and I don't mean the old ones. I tried watching Christopher Eccleston's ones, and for some reason, every time I think about getting back into Doctor Who, I just can't do it. No matter how bad I sometimes want to, I just find a way to talk myself out of it. But anyway, back to Man in the High Castle. So after 2 seasons of human misery, and they had a season 3 trailer. And season 3 trailer was they played that U2 song, and it was filled with hope, and it really got me pumped, like, oh, right, this is where the tide turns. This is where we're going to start seeing the rebellion get big and start pushing back, and we're going to like go into season 4 with like some momentum, real momentum, and the heroes are going to start bringing the fight to the Nazis and the Japanese. And that's what that trailer really sold, and that whole hopefulness of it all. Even though there was imagery that made you go, oh shit, that's going to be bad. But we've had 2 years of human misery, and so I was ready. And then I bought the shirt, literally. I went online and bought a Man in the High Castle Season 3 t-shirt. I went on vacation the week that show was premiering, so I could take the whole week to review the show. Doctor Who died in the Social Justice Warriors killed Doctor Who. Okay, I'll have to take your word for that. It sounds like something Social Justice Warriors would do. But I was ready to love it. I was ready to love Man in the High Castle season 3. And I started watching it, and look, I reviewed all the episodes, and I pointed out everything I loved about season 3, because I do like season 3. I do. But I also hate it, because Amazon sold me. It's like when you order something from Amazon and it's not the thing that was advertised. Okay? I bought into that trailer, and maybe that's on me. But the fact that it just still ends up with just another 10 episodes, right? 10 episodes of unrelenting, maybe it was only 8. Just more human misery. Just still no hope. And anybody that tells me that there is, because Juliana went to another world, and look, I get it. I see where they're headed with it. I really do see where they're headed with it. But 3 seasons where Frank dies twice, man. That poor guy died twice. And with multiple realities, they can keep dying. But this is the same Frank. In season 2, he blew himself the fuck up. And so we were like, well, there's one hero down. And let's also talk about this. The heroes on Man in the High Castle aren't very interesting. The villains are way more interesting. And then Joe gets killed in season 3 here. And I was like, all right, but there's more Joes. Like, there's alternate Joes, and there's alternate Franks, and there's alternate Julianas. And so it doesn't really matter if a character dies. But when your main characters from this world that we're in die, having done nothing, and now we have to rely on Juliana, who's a very just bland heroine, who just kind of seems lost through the whole thing. 3 seasons of wandering around, not knowing what's going on. And all I can do is say, well, bring on season 4. And I have mellowed. It doesn't sound like it. I have mellowed on this because I have heard enough comments and listened to enough opinions to realize that the only problem I have with my opinion of season 3 is that I'm taking it too seriously because of the build up to it and the letdown from the trailer and how I feel I wasn't given the thing that I was advertised. And just that I took a week off of work, the disappointment of not liking the show more than I did. And then having so many people just come at me with their just, ooh, you don't know. And it's like, no, I fucking know. I know and I appreciate the passion from the fans. I appreciate people coming at me, with their comments about it and how they see it. But unfortunately, this is what is about opinions, and the beauty of having a different opinion is that my opinion might not be the same as yours, but I'll respect somebody else's opinion. I had received so many disrespectful comments that it really just kind of ruined the whole thing for me. And that's why I'm not really looking forward to Man in the High Castle season 4. I will watch it when it comes out, and I'll probably review it. And I'm kind of looking forward to all the comments that I'll get from that. When it was over and I got all these comments, I was like, oh, I'm done. But anyway, that's it. I mean, Man in the High Castle is single-handedly the most disappointing show I've seen this year. And coming from a guy who I was on a high, ready for this show to be awesome. Even though the acting is good and the production quality is good, I felt like I was watching the movie Hereditary, where I was like, this is just misery, and I don't feel good after watching it. So that's all I'm going to say about those. Let's go back to Netflix really quick to mention a couple of shows that I didn't talk about yet. And one of them is a show that I watched all the way through with my dad, and I don't know why. At first, I liked the premise. Where is it? Yes, it's called You, and it's made from the Greg Berlanti. Now, if you don't know who Greg Berlanti is, um, okay, Greg Berlanti makes CW crap. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? So he's like behind a lot of CW shows, and he's even behind some that I kind of like DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and I like early seasons of Arrow and the first season of The Flash. But he's also behind some real garbage on there too. And I don't know why I watched it, except that our narrator is a Dexter type who's clearly a real, CW trash. But I was interested in, I kind of like seeing the mind of a killer, a mind of a messed up guy. And he's like starts to stalk this girl. And it just turns into just regular garbage. I even like once it's filled with annoying, trashy soap opera characters, and I don't even know why I'm mentioning it except the fact that I somehow watched all 10 episodes of this. And even though Penn Badgley, is pretty good on the show, she is one of the most uninteresting characters that a killer can fall in love with. Everybody in this show is obsessed with this girl, and she is one of the most uninteresting people that I've ever seen characters obsessed over. She's a fake, what do you call it? Oh God, how come I can't even say it? She's obsessed with social media and fame and just fleeting fame, and she thinks she's an artist, and good Lord, is she not? She's terrible. About something else. Really like, and let's talk about Disenchantment. So, Disenchantment from the Matt Groening and creators of Futurama and The Simpsons and all that. If you don't know that, well, I don't know what to tell you. I have hope for this show going into. We got season part 1 of this, and even though it has had a hard time finding its feet, I do believe that by the end of this, there is hope that it'll be better. I think that the first part of it, tonally, the show is too all over the place. They have a different director like every episode. But the last 2 episodes of the season, or the part that we got, did really get to what I would like to see this show, to be in the future. I even was contacted by the director of episode 9, and it really blew me away because I'm a nobody on YouTube. But because I commented about that episode saying that it's the way that this show needs to be is episode 9 and 10. And it was shocking that the director reached out to me on here and said, hey, thanks a lot. And, we're really, trying to do our best and all this stuff. And I can tell that there is some heart to this. And like a lot of first seasons, it's not always that great. I mean, come on. The first season of The Simpsons, like the animation and just stories and stuff, weren't that great. If you go back and watch early Simpsons, they're okay. They're great for nostalgia, but they're really not that good. The Christmas episode, the very first one they ever did, was pretty good. But there's a lot of Simpsons, early Simpsons, that before they found their footing, that just really wasn't that great. But Disenchantment, I think, does have some hope to it. I do think that it can get stronger as it goes into it. Yeah, they are rough, but I like I said, thanks for commenting. If you give it a chance, it does, by the end, it does kind of pick up and does leave you kind of wanting to see where it's going to go. Thankfully, it's short, and so it's not hard to get through. Now that we're done with that part, we're getting there to, we're getting to the good stuff. We really are. Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'm trying. I appreciate that compliment. I'm not going to say that I know my stuff completely because I don't want to feel like, ooh la la, look at me. But I mean, I guess if you watch enough stuff, you better get good at it, right? Or you better understand it at some point. So One thing I'm gonna look up here is two more shows that are on Prime. They're just gonna be easier for me to look up. Both of them are all right. Homecoming, Sam, damn it. Jeez, okay. Homecoming, the guy that made Mr. Robot, okay? With Julia Roberts. And look, I reviewed all the episodes of Homecoming, and it's not Mr. Robot. But what would be? What was it gonna be as good as Mr. Robot, which I do consider to be like easily one of the best shows of all time? No, it's not. And it also has Bobby Cannavale, who I love. Bobby Cannavale is a fantastic actor. Whenever he's being a good guy, bad guy, doesn't matter. The premise of this is all right. It's about like the mystery surrounding this place that's supposed to help soldiers with PTSD, and the mystery surrounding like what really went on there, because Julia Roberts can't remember, and Bobby Cannavale is trying to hide what happened there, and the people that went there, there's mystery surrounding what happened to them. And even though it kind of grated on me early on, it does end well. I do like the ending, and I really hope they don't do a season 2, because I think that how it ended with this kind of ambiguous, hopeful ending was great. Julia Roberts, I'm not a big fan of Julia Roberts, but I think she did a really good job here. I think Shea Wiggum from Boardwalk Empire does a pretty good job here. Bobby Cannavale is chewing scenery, but not in an overacting way. He is killing it. The guy who plays the main soldier in this, I can't remember his name, he's also very good in this. But I think they tried to sell this as it was going to be some really mind-bendy thing like Mr. Robot, and it really isn't. It's really not that big of a stretch. They just play with how they show you things with flashbacks and things like that, and peeling back the mystery. And the mystery, to be honest with you, it's not that. It's bad. What they're doing at this place was bad. And I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen Homecoming, because that'd be a disservice to you guys that want to check it out. But it's really like, oh, okay, that's bad. But it's really bad. I shouldn't downplay the mystery, but what I was expecting wasn't just this. It's still really bad and really just awful what people can do to each other. But it wasn't all that. And Sam Esmail, I know he's ramping up to finish Mr. Robot, and I'm sure that's going to be fantastic, but not everything's going to be a home run. It's like this show's been nominated for Golden Globes for Julia and Best Drama Series and everything. Best Drama Series is a big fucking stretch. Best? No. It shouldn't even be nominated. There's maybe the acting, but not the show. The other show that I'm going to talk about really quickly before we get into our home stretch, the one that I actually have more planned out, is the show on Showtime, Kidding, with Jim Carrey. Made from the same guy who did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Kidding is a fantastic show about a Mr. Rogers-esque character who's going through some pretty heavy emotional problems, dealing with the death of a kid and the loss of a marriage that's falling apart, and trying to still be that guy that everybody knows, and trying to do some of the things that, in retrospect, are things that Mr. Rogers really tried to do, which is like talk about death and things like that. The show, is very imaginative and very original. Even though it takes things that we've seen before, it does things that with those things that we haven't seen before. And Jim Carrey's never been better in a while. I always appreciate Jim Carrey more as less of the complete moron character than somebody who has actual things to think and say. And there's a lot to this character, and it's heartbreaking and funny and clever and sad about, and just the way business is done. And even though this came out, the same year as some other stuff about like Mr. Rogers, and I don't think Fred Rogers would be on board with how they made this show. I think that even he might appreciate the character's sentiment and what he's actually ultimately trying to do. He'd probably just say, could you cut out all the sex and the dirty language? But Kidding is a pretty good show. And this is definitely better than Homecoming. So I don't know if this is up for Golden Globes, but it better be for acting. So now let's get into other things here. So, all right. Get to the collage part here, blah, blah, blah. Well, honorable mention here would be Mystery Science Theater 3000, The Gauntlet. I don't know if you can call it a TV show anymore. I mean, they released all 6 episodes, but I mean, they do that with everything. But Mystery Science Theater 3000, The Gauntlet was a definite beacon in a messed up year. It came out right when I needed it. Mystery Science Theater 3000 has been one of my favorite shows since I was like 14. And we got like another six movies of just pretty damn good stuff. It's not as good as some of the early, like some Joel and Mike stuff. The riffs do come really fast, almost too fast at times you can't appreciate a joke sometimes because they've just done another one and another one and another one and another one on top of it. But it's still, any Mystery Science Theater 3000 is a plus. It's always good. And yeah, thank you, Belinda. It's always a win to have MST 3K on TV in any form, or even like riff tracks, things like that. But it's such a nice thing to have after all this time. But now we can start talking about, I did The Good Place already. Okay, let's talk about Amazon's Patriot Season 2. Now, this is a show that pretty much nobody knows about. And I haven't even finished reviewing all of Season 2. I have finished Season 2, but I have not reviewed all of Season 2. Patriot Season 1 came out a little while back, and it came out of nowhere. It had been sitting there in my Amazon Prime queue forever, and I never watched it, and I don't know why. But as soon as I started watching it, I couldn't stop. It's this great story about a spy who loves folk music and smoking pot, and is tasked by his father, played by Terry O'Quinn, so boom, right there I was in, to infiltrate this steel piping company in Milwaukee, because they get to go to Luxembourg, and in Luxembourg they have to deliver this money to a guy to stop Iran from getting nuclear capabilities. And it's supposed to be this simple A to B operation. And that's kind of like the premise, is how A to B can get so messed up. All the small details in this can get so screwed up. The show, Michael Dornan, who plays John, the main character, is fantastic. This entire cast is freaking fantastic. From Terry O'Quinn to the guy from That 70s Show, Kurtwood Smith, has never been better. He is so good as this guy named Leslie Claret, who's all the piping stuff, and he's super into coke, and he knows John Lakeman is a fraud, but he can't prove it. There are so many awesome elements in this show, but in Season 2, the credits alone are the Beastie Boys' Sure Shot. The whole plot being that now that we've gotten past the A to B problem, there's a new problem, and we call it the jellyfish problem. And the jellyfish problem is you can kill one jellyfish, but it will turn into 2. So you solve one problem and you create a second problem. And that's the big theme of Season 2 of Patriot, is that now that we've kind of gotten one thing almost straight, we've just created a whole new set of problems for ourselves. It is one of the most unconventional spy shows I've ever seen. It is one of the best acted spy shows. It is also filled with great folk music. It is filled with original folk music that is hilarious. It's got one of the best soundtracks I've ever seen on TV, and it is being watched by no one. and I don't feel like anybody's really reviewing it. I think I'm one of the only people that reviews it. But it's one of those gems that if you have not watched Patriot, start watching Patriot as soon as you can. You will not be disappointed. And so let's move on to, whoa. Well, I guess we're talking about it now. And that's, well, this is definitely higher up on my list. But we're going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale Season 2. Now, even if you're not the channel, I reviewed all of Season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale, and it is one of my earlier forays in when I restarted making videos for my YouTube channel. And if you want to see an exuberant review of Season 2, you've never watched anything but 24? That's great. It is. But anyway, The Handmaid's Season 2, if you want to see me snap in the best possible way, go watch my Handmaid's Tale Season 2 videos. Because I just go off. Like almost every episode I get really passionate about. Because I fucking hate that world that she lives in that show. It is fantastically acted by every single person on that show. There is not a weak link on that show. And it, like Man in the High Castle, it is filled with human misery. But I know that it's going somewhere. I know I can have the patience for that because they give me glimpses of hope. But between of this world, this kind of bunch of fucking anarchists who don't get you started about Handmaid, yeah, it brings out a lot of feels. If you have not, like I said, if you have not checked out my reviews for The Handmaid's Tale, go watch them. They're hilarious. In fact, I owe a lot of my success this year to The Handmaid's Tale. It gave me a lot of reasons to get better at what I do for this channel. And if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but except to tell you that, you know, the country was taken over, part of this country was taken over at least, by these anarchists that want women to be subservient, that they're just to be breeders, because in this part of the world, women weren't giving birth anymore. And they blamed it on the way we live. And so these shitbirds took it upon themselves to, these men, they call themselves men, to enslave the female populace basically and use them as sexual cattle. And it's about the main character, Joan, who fights for it. And I'm already at 18% for my power on my phone, so I'm gonna have to start making this quicker. But Handmaid's Tale, definitely one of the best shows of the year. It'll probably clean up at the Emmys again, for all I know. Okay, so let's now talk about Better Call Saul Season 4. Just freaking amazing. It's my #2 show of the year. Breaking Bad is my favorite show pretty much of all time. It's real. I have a really hard time with that because it's like MST3K, The X-Files, Breaking Bad. It's sometimes hard to like pick which one is my favorite. Like it's like picking a kid, your favorite kid, you know. But Better Call Saul is so good. Bob Odenkirk is phenomenal. Everybody, again, this doesn't have a weak link in its cast. This year, seeing the after effects of, spoiler alert, you know, of Jimmy's brother's death and his continued downward spiral to becoming Saul Goodman. Get to seeing more of what happens with Mike Ehrmantraut and his relationship to Gus Fring, how they built the super lab in Breaking Bad. All these things that should be just considered fan service, done with such care and written with such quality and acted with such freaking ferocity and intelligence and depth. I mean, it really, I reviewed all of Season 4, and if you want to see reviews of that, you can check them out on my channel. I don't get excited about shows like I do Better Call Saul, and I think it shows on my reviews for it. But now, so I don't get too far off topic and I don't run out of power, let's get to some other stuff really quickly before it's done. Okay, specially mentions here, another show I really love is Netflix's Maniac. A fantastic little limited series with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. A head trip of a show. I can't say enough good things about it. This is from my particularly favorite, where he plays a guy named Snorri. These people that go into a test to find out what's wrong. It's to test out this computer that can like help you get through things. And basically, again, it's AI. And when does that ever work out well for anybody? But the performances are really, really strong. It's made from the guy who did True Detective. So like, how can you go wrong? You can't. It doesn't. It gets a great performance out of Billy Magnussen, who I usually don't like. You get Gabriel Byrne in here. He's great. You get, oh man, the guy from Leftovers. Why can't I? Justin Theroux is in this, and he's fantastic and bizarre. Everybody is fantastic on this show. And I hate that I have to ramp up this because of time on my freaking battery. But Maniac, if you have not checked out Maniac, you've got to check it out. Let's see. Let's just get to the best thing I've seen all year then, because I'm running out of time. But really quickly, other shows that were on the top of this list were Preacher Season 3, another great season from that show. It wasn't my favorite thing of all time of them, but Preacher Season 3 was really good. Daredevil Season 3 was really, really good. I hopefully, now that even though it's been canceled, I hope that they can do something with it. But it dealt with family members of Daredevil's past, and it didn't fail like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage did. But yeah, here we are. We're talking about it. Oh, well, was The Expanse this year? Was Season 3 this year? Because I didn't know how far behind I was. If it was this year, then The Expanse for sure is one of the best shows of the year. Since I was watching it on Amazon, I didn't know when it came out. But yeah, The Expanse, another show I owe a lot of support to because of my channel. Helped out my channel a lot. Belinda, did it come out this year, Season 3? Okay, wow. I'm sorry. Because I had to watch it on Amazon, I did not know. So yes, of course, The Expanse. But let's see, Westworld Season 2 was pretty good too. It wasn't as good as Season 1. And I know that people are going to be like, well, how can you say that? In some ways it was better than Season 1, but in other ways I don't feel like it was. But we're just going to quickly talk, okay, The Romanoffs, another really good show. I almost feel like I should just like do a part 2 of this. So you know what, that's no, I can't. And then Ozark Season 2, Counterpart was really good with J.K. Simmons. But The Haunting of Hill House wins for the best thing that not only have I seen, I have not watched Dark. I tried to, I believe it's on Netflix, right? I did not watch that. I think I started to watch the first episode, but there's just so much to watch that sometimes it's hard to pick. But The Haunting of Hill House not only gets my favorite TV show of the year, but it's the best thing I've seen all year. And I've said that. I reviewed all the episodes. I did a 2-part review of the series and then re-reviewed every individual episode. It is how you make a perfect scary show. The performances are all fantastic. It hits you in all the right places. You give a shit about the characters. They give you so much character in this that most haunted house shows don't give you. And my battery is about to run out, so I have to end this. So if you liked this review of all the best of 2018, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying next year we'll have this better planned out, and maybe I'll stop talking about Man in the High Castle a little bit earlier. But anyway, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next video.